So, guys, it's time for everybody's absolute favorite segment. And you guys already know what it's called. You already know what's about to happen. You tuned in at the right time. You liked the video at the right time. You hit subscribe, and it's time for everybody's favorite moment. And it is called Dave Meltzer's Dumb Moment of the Week. So, man, we got a shitload of stuff. We're just gonna rapid fire and go through all of these different things Dave has said and the cope and everything he said, or how his reactions, and also, Fightful does get a little bit brought into this, as we were talking about AEW before. The Dynamite viewership dipped below 700,000 against NHL on TNT, so already that excuse is built in. And they deleted. I'm pretty sure, they just now deleted it because it was so egregious. Like, they're already making the excuse. And so here's Dave Meltzer talking about the ratings for Dynamite, and here's what he has. This is per Meltzer. What the greatest follow on X. Dave's so pissed he had to go to that pesky wedding last night and couldn't live tweet all these reasons for the Dynamite number being down. And Dave Meltzer is coping about the Dynamite number being down, even though they did such a great angle. AEW's did 683K last night. West Coast Live hurt. So West Coast Live hurt 8%. What the fuck does that mean? Awful. What does that mean?
Who knows? He won't go into details.
Right. Well, I don't know what that means. And obviously the sports competition is going to hurt everything. Okay. Cue ignorant excuses, folk, even though this was well known in advance. Okay.
Is that why it took so long for them to even reveal the ratings to us?
Yeah, and why? So then here's the thing. Like, if this affects AEW, then it also affects WWE, but even more so because there's more WWE viewers, but yet everyone just wants to go, oh, WWE lost 800K, and they don't want to be real about, like, what, I don't know. Dave won't bring it up. Here, let's hear this. Oh, he's just playing like Cope emo music. Oh, that's so funny, man. That's so funny. Dave, though, he's just coping more and more. So he's talking about Dave Meltzer's review of Chris Jericho versus Hook. And, there's Wrestling Observer's been catching heat, speaking of ratings, because apparently Jericho results in dips in the ratings here and there. And so, like, during the match, Jericho was literally, he got dropped on his fucking head through a table, and then people were chanting please retire and stuff at him, like Big Show. Like, he became Big Show. And so Dave goes on to say a lot of people hated it, but the match had all kinds of heat. There were negative chants at Jericho, including please retire. Some tried to say the heat was not a positive. In the same sense, bro, if people are chanting please retire at you, it's not a positive, Dave. What are you talking? Jesus Christ. Some tried to say the heat was not a positive, in the sense there was a very vocal part of the audience. They were WWE fans. Trust me, I was there. Actually, someone was there who sent me a photo and told me that it was WWE fans that didn't want Jericho around. And some explained that the heat shouldn't count because it was a positive but a negative. Bro, listen to this. Oh, that heat shouldn't count. No, that heat shouldn't count because it wasn't fair, because they just didn't like Jericho. Like, what the fuck are you saying, Dave? Jesus Christ. Right. It's hard to say, because at the end the reactions were, no, Dave, it's not hard to say. What it's easy to say because we heard it on TV and we heard it on the people who were in the fucking building, dude. Hook kicked out.
It's as I've said before about Dave Meltzer and his writing. He's not writing for today's audience. He is writing for the next generation to look back at his stuff and be like, well, damn, this AEW seemed like it was really on a roll. And he's never going to give the real account. This is where I come in, but he's never going to give the real account of what's going on, what's happening today. He's writing for 5, 6, 7 years from now, when this company's dead and gone, hopefully, and people look back on it and it's given these rose-colored glasses, as a look to see, like, yeah, AEW, it was this hot new thing, and for whatever reason, some reason or other, it went under. But Dave will never tell you why it went under. He's not going to write that kind of stuff now.
You're spot on. If the program was to continue, and that happens, that appears to be the plan, Jericho did have to cheat and win here. Okay, thanks for explaining what is supposed to be conveyed through the match. The turn felt way rushed. Like we started at A, and instead of going to B next, we're already at M. Well, at least he's honest about that. And then at Z, but the crowd also seemed to force a rush of the turn. It's just like leave this sentence out, and then you don't sound so stupid. Obviously, the key is in the company's ability to turn that please retire into a strong heel act. And then now, basically, blah, blah, blah. Jericho's now the learning tree, and the FTW title is the For the World Championship. What do you think of all of that gimmick change and Dave's cope?
For the course, Jericho doesn't really know what he's doing as far as character development anymore. I think he's out to just, they should just call him check cash in Chris Jericho, because that's all he's there for. The learning tree, that makes no sense. And then you had Big Bill come out there and with his terrible acting skills and terrible promo, and even Jericho looked bored at the whole thing. Like, let's just try to burn through this 10-minute segment and get to the back so we can go home. It's amazing how these guys only work one day a week. Like, it shows it in every performance that these guys do. It shows that they have no rehearsals, no sort of like dress rehearsal or anything like that. They just go out there and they wing it.
And so Dave Meltzer reports, or Wrestling Observer newsletter reports, that Dax Harwood suffered a concussion during the ladder match versus the Young Bucks. I don't want to be mean or anything, but what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, I guess, on Dax Harwood getting concussed in that ladder match?
Maybe if he plays a little safer, spend less time on Twitter and more time practicing your move sets. With the Bucks.
Oh shit!
And then you probably be a little bit better off. I mean, listen, I wish him a speedy recovery, but maybe not be so hard headed. No pun intended. Don't be so hard headed in trying to attack people who rightfully criticize your product, thinking that you're going to take we're trying to take food out of your kids' mouths. Give me a break with that.
That's gaslighting, dude. Yeah,
work a little safer. Stay off Twitter.
So Julian Weeks shut him out. Nah, he can't be serious with this. Dave Meltzer says the reason AEW announced Strickland in the first segment for Saturday is because they expect their biggest quarter of the year. There is no... What do you mean the NBA game fucking interrupted the first quarter of the fucking show, you idiot? We're watching it live on PWT. Fuck you. There's no inside the NBA on TNT. They go right from the Celtics Heat game to wrestling. But it was late. Their biggest lead-in a long time at 8:30 p.m. or slightly later. Makes more sense to do something big there than on Dynamite for all the reasons we talked about in Rin. So let me ask you, Awful. Let me ask you. So they think that they're gonna, instead of giving like Swerve the Homecoming on the show that supposedly around 1 million are supposed to be watching, even though it's like 600,000, and they give Moxley the big Homecoming, even though it's the New Japan and the Divas fucking looking title, and instead of giving Swerve the big moment, they're like, nah, we'll put him on there at Collision where like 400,000 people are gonna watch because it's a big lead-in from NBA. And what are they hoping? Like, people who watch the NBA are going to see Swerve and like Swerve? You give me your thoughts on this. You're more qualified to speak on this than I am as well. So give me your thoughts on it.
I don't see how I'm more qualified, but I will say this. I do know this. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have to bring in real life to all this. The second the buzzer hits on an NBA basketball game is the second that people who are either for or against that particular team, they tune out. It's over. They do not wait for any post-game show or even any sort of post-game analysis after the show. They're clicking it off and going on to something else. To put Swerve Strickland on there right after first off, I mean, yeah.
He announced the pressure once. He has the sneakers, right? And then so what I've seen on Twitter is people saying, oh, they're going to put Swerve there because they hope the black audience from fucking NBA sticks around to watch Swerve. So that's why I said I want your thought. Like, is that a move? Is that a play? Or do you just think that, like, what? I don't know. I don't know. Is that a play? I'm asking you.
I mean, the only thing that would make it worse is if that Swerve showed up in one of the NBA team's jerseys right as he came out there with a basketball in his hand, and there was like a basket right in the middle of the ring, and he did a dunk. Like, that's
Because if John Cena came out after an NBA game, people would be like, "Oh shit, it's John Cena, right? He's a star."
Right.
So it
Yeah,
doesn't
they're
matter. Yeah,
starting off on the wrong foot with Swerve. Swerve should see this kind of thing
real
coming, though.
ugly.
That's what I'm
Yeah, that's
saying.
what I'm getting at, bro. It's real bad. I feel like it's one
Yeah.
of the. It's
Oh, so
one
you're
of the.
using my skin tone. I see. I
Well,
see.
no,
You
I'm
know what I
just
mean?
asking you. It's just I gotta
No, no,
ask,
no.
right?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what Swerve is thinking. Like, okay, so I'm going to now. I'm the token black guy that's going to show up at the right after the basketball game, and I'm going to speak about what. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It
exactly.
doesn't make
And
too much sense.
but basically that's what Dave is just saying though. Like the Celtics seat, like no explanation of why. Just like, oh, they're gonna parade him because he's gonna have the biggest quarter hour of the year. For what? For
Yeah.
Collision? Like no one's really watching that shit. So makes more sense to do something big there than on Dynamite. But no, because the most people watch Dynamite. So it's just really like a bunch of cope right there, 100%. Like you can't defend how they've been booking Swerve or anything. And then here's shout out AEW Neckbeards. He's of course just like making people look silly. I couldn't agree more with Dave Meltzer's assessment. Beep boop, and he's exposing bots. Look at all these Meltzer bots. I couldn't agree more with Dave Meltzer's assessment. The Bryan Danielson versus Ospreay match at AEW Dynasty was indeed a masterpiece. The energy and technique displayed in both. Here's another guy. I couldn't agree
That's
more with Dave
incredible.
Meltzer's assessment that Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay match at AEW Dynasty was a true masterpiece. Look at the next one, guys. He's got more. It's not just them. After watching Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay go out at AEW Dynasty, it's clear that we're dealing with a match. I couldn't agree more with Dave Meltzer's assessment. The Bryan Danielson versus, it's all the same shit, dude. It's just a bunch of fucking bots. That's hilarious.
None of
That's
this
so
screams
funny.
of desperation. Let me ask the chat: do any of the moves that Tony Khan are doing? Any of the do they not reek of desperation?
Bro,
I mean,
big
come
time.
on.
Absolute big time. And so speaking of which, desperation, Dave Meltzer, as we're in this segment, Dave Meltzer dumb moment of the week. Dave Meltzer on Tony Khan saying WWE is, quote, like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. So he's going to defend this shit that we went over with yourself and Marv. So Dave says, quote, I know Khan believes this engagement is good, but I don't think that's the case. Oh, he doesn't defend it. Based Meltzer. He could get away with calling Vince Weinstein, but calling the okay, no, Dave, fuck you for he could get away with calling Vince Weinstein, but calling the full company that is an issue that will cause a ton of blowback.
Well,
So he's
remember
sort of trying to
today is the last day that Vince McMahon is in charge of anything. So I'm sure on Monday, all the people that hated Vince McMahon, they'll just stop talking about Vince McMahon in conjunction with the WWE, correct?
I mean, we covered it earlier in the show. Nick Khan sold all of his shares too, but he's going to remain as president. So I don't think so. I think everyone's going to try and connect Nick Khan to Vince McMahon. However, on PWT, we're the top fucking pod, and we investigated it, and Brandon Thurston revealed that Nick Khan's shares have all been on sale since September. Same as Vince's, so it doesn't matter. Like this is just a boss move for Nick Khan, but I don't know. I think all those people crying about Vince will remain forever, personally. But he's sort of trying to soften the blow by saying, well, he could have called Vince Harvey, but he can't call all of WWE Harvey. So that's just fucking straight dummy shit, man. I just really don't.
Dummy, yeah.
Dave Meltzer, how does he ever get away with it? How does he get away with it?
And it was so bad for Tony to do that. You have to just condemn it. Like it was so stupid to do that shit. And so also Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Dominik Mysterio is undergoing elbow surgery, but is planned to remain on TV while recovering. Dave says Dominik Mysterio also had an elbow injury. It apparently happened in a 4:15 match with Andrade and was described to us as a freak accident. He will be undergoing Tommy John surgery on his elbow, which for a baseball pitcher means at least 9 months out, since he doesn't have to throw pitches, blah, 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 blah. Dominik Mysterio responded to this, and I think I have it bookmarked, but he was just like, nope, no surgery for me. Here, I think Marv's got it. Yeah, so Marv, shout out at Movie Marvin. He screen grabbed it. No surgery for this guy. I'm not fucking leaving. And so basically, he just buried the fucking dirt because Sports Illustrated shills for AEW. We all know. WWE wrestler Dominik Mysterio is scheduled to undergo Tommy John surgery to repair. No, he just buried the dirt sheets. No surgery. Go fuck yourself, dummies. Again, just Dave making shit up. Sports Illustrated running with whatever bullshit makes WWE look bad. You know what I mean?
What do you think, Phil? Do you think that Brian Alvarez is slowly trying to like distance
Break free?
himself from Dave Meltzer?
I don't think so. No, I think he's going to take over that empire, and he's just showing a bit of pushback because this is why. I think Brian isn't as accepted in some of the circles as Dave, to where he assumes he is accepted in these. Like, okay, when he goes to the AEW press conference, right? He's at the one, he asks the question, and Christian Cage just buries him, and then he hasn't been at another one since, even though he's like, oh, dude, for real. And he's like, oh, I've been at the events. Like he calls people geeks because they're like, oh, you cover wrestling, you weren't there, whatever. And he's like, no, I was there. Da, 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 da. So it's like, but he hasn't been asking no more questions. So it's like, I think he has like a fragile little ego too, but I think he handles it because he doesn't like block people and shit. But I think I think what he's doing is just because, okay, Dave will say shit that sometimes you're like, no, he's right about that. And then Brian doesn't push back on it or anything. I just don't feel any like, even though he has this schmarmy, cocky prick little fucking attitude, I feel like he doesn't, he's just waiting for Dave to go, and then he will be the new Dave Meltzer. I truly believe that. So his pushback, I don't know if it's for show, but I just think it's him also, because you can't lie to yourself all the time. No human can lie all the time to yourself all the time without going insane. You have to push back at some point. So I
think he's pushing back.
Well, what happens? He breaks off and Figure 4 becomes its own thing. There's no way. It's too much money in that. It's just, there's no way that's ever going to happen. Like, they're never going to split off. He's always going to sit there. And I'm okay if he's pushing back. I'm down. But then just look at Brian's Twitter feed. He'll also like call people geeks and get mad. I don't care about that at all. But I'm just saying, like, he will he'll shoot on, let's just say, people who say shit like that, or like, you're pushing back because Dave or whatever. Like, if you question him, he still has that like Dave mentality towards you, like that. So that's where I'm like, I don't know. I just think maybe like he's pushing back because he's just comfortable with Dave, maybe more than it's like he's being honest about the objective reality. Because the
devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
Right. And maybe I'm psychoanalyzing it too much, but either fucking way, Dom buries all that shit. And then Dave is just coping more at Pro Wrestling, WWF counselor, shout him out, quote, non-sports, but I thought AEW was real wrestling. And Dave Meltzer says it beat everything but the playoffs. Highest non-sports show was 0.16. Dave again just coping, like, yeah, it beat everything but NHL playoffs. I'm not going to bury Dave for this, but it's him. It's just him. Like, here's the thing. The reason Dave has ever been labeled as credible is because his ability to sniff out and garner and report valid pay-per-view and ticket sale and Nielsen rating numbers and shit like that. So his whole defenses are just like, it's like, bro, if this was any other wrestling show, you would say it was shit compared to WWE. Whatever, but he just can't do it. He has such a vested interest. And then here's Dave and Brian Alvarez, and shout out at Triple H, Paul L. It's Triple H's thoughts. Shout him out. I think he was a guest on Tooney Talk Wrestling, and just a great yeah. So here's Dave and Brian just spouting out more excuses. I
presume that I can confirm we had video games.
And this is about basically the reason I covered all the excuses prior to preface this, because now they're gonna talk about Raw's decrease in ratings. And if you just levy it, like, you have all these excuses for Dynamite and AEW and why their ratings aren't the complete bomb, and then when Raw's drop 800K, which isn't good, but you could just say that the sports affect Raw more because more people watch sports and more people watch WWE. So that's just the simplest explanation. Right? You conspiracy motherfuckers. And so here's Dave, though. Like, this is what they have to say as soon as WWE has objectively less viewers, where you got to go, okay, what the fuck's going on here? But here's them they can't wait to jump all over it.
I presume that I can confirm we had video games last year. I presume that Netflix and Hulu existed a year ago, and that people had computers and watched things on YouTube 1 year ago. I'm not sure of any of this, of course. And I can presume,
even though, what a schmarmy fucking prick, even though AEW's YouTube has declined since Punk left the company, it's fallen off a cliff. What a schmarmy cunt.
There may have been NFL football a year ago too.
Maybe. Oh, may there have been, fucking Dave. What a cunt.
I was told that there was NFL this week starting for the first time. There was an NFL game against them for the first time.
See, do you see Brian? I heard there was NFL for the first time ever. Do you hear Brian?
Oh yeah, they're
that's
really
what I mean. I don't think he's really
ass.
fighting. I don't think he's really fighting back. He's just sometimes you got to just keep it real if you're dealing with Dave every day.
Time this Monday. Yes, I know. And it was a good game too. That has never happened. There's never been a good NFL game going up against Raw. I mean, that, I guess, it's like,
dude, they're clowning. They're doing what me and you and Marv would do about, you know, they're trying to riff and be cute. It's dude, shut the fuck up. Where's this same energy when AEW ratings are doing bad? You fucking idiots, man. It's so stupid.
Look, there's always lists of excuses. And there were, boy, did we hear them, after this one, but, I presume.
And then they're just oh boy, do we hear these excuses, bro? I didn't see anyone. For the most part, I've seen people going yo, WWE dipped 800K. There is other sports, but damn, Triple H, what's up? So awful. Dave coping, shitting on WWE.
Meanwhile, you know, when WWE does it, it's apparently an excuse. But God forbid you should give any sort of, reason as to why AEW is doing so bad. And, that they don't consider it an excuse. It's just the fact of life that the NBA is going to beat them. But here I got a question, because I do a little bit of research. Yep. Jesse Waters, which is a show on Fox. I don't know if too many people know about it.
I'm
they never seem to lose viewers when these big NBA games go on or anything like that. It's only the AEW on Wednesday nights that lose viewers. Why is it that these other shows don't lose that many viewers? Jesse Waters averages 2.2 million viewers each and every week. Now, I don't know too much about their particular 18 to 49 demo, but they don't lose viewers. They don't lose a chunk of viewers.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? That's why I say
how does NXT, sorry to interrupt you, but the night before, how does NXT keep all of those viewers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And increase their viewership. Sorry, Awful. What were you going to say though?
No, you're exactly right. Nobody seems to lose viewership when there's NBA games on Wednesday, except for AEW, which is strange to me.
Yeah, it is strange. And so Powerhouse Hobbs, per Dave Meltzer, suffered a legitimate knee injury on Dynamite when he went for a high cross and smashed into the turnbuckles. Why is this guy doing high crosses and smashing into turnbuckles? The match was reportedly set to go on longer than it did, as they plan to do more. It is currently unknown how bad the injury is. So it was going to go longer than it did? What the fuck, man?
Right.
Dummy. Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's a dude in your chat named Headingite, and he says Jesse Waters is a right wing nut job, and all the Trump cultists watch Fox religiously.
Okay,
how's that? How are they any different than AEW fans?
I mean, yeah, dude. If you want to get into that, whoever's saying that in the chat, Tony Khan's dad donated to Trump. Jericho's wife was at the fucking protests or whatever, where everyone's getting arrested. The J6. We're not getting political here, and I'm not going shame on them. I don't give a fuck. I live in Canada. I don't care about none of that bullshit. But what I'm telling you,
he's saying that Jesse Waters has a certain loyal fan base.
Oh, okay.
And AEW should have that same sort of fan base. Why do their rings not grow?
Yeah, well, there you go. Even to what I just said. Yeah. So, and I'm not hating on vote whoever the fuck you. I don't care. I truly, if someone's I vote for Trump, I don't give a fuck. I don't. And I live in Canada, so I don't care. But what I'm trying to say is this. Okay, look at both WWE and AEW. There's a bunch of people who support Trump and shit. Do you know why? Because people support Trump. So sorry, I don't. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. People tune out. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? So Wrestling Observer also reports on the recent WWE roster cuts were a Paul Levesque decision. Awful. I want your thoughts. Mahal, Cameron Grimes, all of these different superstars get cut into sheer. I want your thoughts on all of these cuts overall. Just like whoever comes to mind that you think was just recently cut into sheer, Jinder Mahal, Cameron Grimes, he left an emotional video. And these decisions, according to Dave Meltzer, were all at the end of the day decided by Paul Levesque. And Cameron Grimes went on Busted Open Radio and said, he was like, yo, I was a Triple H guy, and it was hard for me to get through. When Vince was there was like a power struggle going on, but these cuts were Triple H's decision. Now I'm going to take a piss, and I want you to give me your thoughts on these cuts and them being just at the end of the day, it was Triple H's call. And even though that's the case, Triple H guys got cut. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if they were doing anything with Indus Sher. They weren't doing anything with Jinder Mahal, nor were they doing anything with Cameron Grimes. And I remember saying this a long time ago. If you're one of these types that feel like you might be getting pushed out the door, you have to push back. You have to start going to people and telling them, listen, man, what have you got for me this week? And start coming up with your very own ideas on how to present yourself on television. Jinder Mahal, I mean, I'm not really sure what he was doing this entire time, but he should have been fighting like hell.
Sorry, did you see his promo where he's like, I can make an impact anywhere? Red Hook District of. Did we watch that together? I don't remember, but either way,
no. We didn't watch it together. But
do you think he goes to AEW, fights Hook, or what?
He's just trying to keep his options open. He did mention Impact, and he also mentioned the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, which is, obviously a
India,
reference to
Japan,
Hook and
Canada.
Yeah. I mean, so he's just weighing his options right now. I don't think he's got any sort of hard decision that he's made to be like, yeah, I'm going here afterwards. He's going to shop around. But it's as I said before, like if Jinder Mahal really wanted to up his game and up his standards, he should have did something right after that program he had with The Rock. You've got to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. And Indus Sher, Cameron Grimes, and Jinder Mahal, as well as a few others, they may not know how to do that right now. Maybe this is their opportunity to learn how to make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
And so do you think like Triple H at the end of, like, Cameron Grimes got cut, he's like, I was a Triple H guy, what the fuck? Triple H had to cut him. It's part of the business, right? It's another Tuesday. I think you said on the other pod, you're like, yo, it's another Tuesday, or whatever. It's another day at the
another
office.
Saturday.
Yeah. Meltzer said what? This one is a little, how do I explain it? So it's just Meltzer basically contradicting himself on how this has to do with, so Colt Cabana. So someone leaked to Dave a bunch of stuff. Dave and Wrestling Observer newsletter got a bunch of information, and like an anonymous source who works in AEW or worked in AEW told us all about the Punk firing and how he did demand that Colt Cabana get fired and blah, 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 blah. And obviously it was fucking Colt Cabana who told them this shit. Like, obviously it was. Do you think Punk demanded Colt get fired? I fucking highly doubt that. But if he did, so what? Like,
he's still with the company, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean,
like that's
so much to do about nothing.
And so my whole thing is like, okay, let's say he did lobby to get Colt fired. I'm not saying lobby to get people fired. That's fucked. So what does that mean? That everything Punk said isn't true? Or like, man, they have some personal weird shit. It's just, there's so much nuance. Everyone lacks nuance in 2024. That's how I feel walking around the world. But either way, basically this is Dave talking about, and Meltzer Said What compiled this. Shout out at Meltzer Said What, one of the best fucking follows you could ever follow. Just Dave talking about how an anonymous source told them that it definitely CM Punk asked for Colt to get fired. Definitely that's something that happened. And so Dave is saying, yeah, it definitely did happen. You can see how likely it is to have happened by looking as his behavior in effectively banning people from Collision. Glad we got an anonymous source from 2 years ago to confirm it definitely did happen by seeing how likely it is to have happened. And it's 2 years ago, so it's got to be Colt. Like, who else was around 2 years ago when Punk was snapping? Just basically the newsletter is one person who we haven't really heard from since early 22. So this is 2 years ago, the anonymous source, right? Right? Like, it just lines up like the observers just stooping themselves of who this is. Like, they're so fucking stupid. What would happen, because most believed and many said they knew it was CM Punk who caused Colt Cabana to not be renewed. But he was renewed, and then although he did get a new deal, but he was never brought to tapings. Even is what, no editor, get an editor for your fucking digital magazine, even though he was a producer primarily, not a wrestler. So they're trying to, like, listen, Punk got him fired caused him to not be renewed. Although he was renewed, but he wasn't really brought to tapings, but he was, even though he was just a producer, not a wrestler. Like, awful. Come on, man. Am I crazy for like getting, like, this is the shit I love to cut. It's just like, how fucking dumb could you be? People give me $12.99. Give Awful $12.99. What the fuck you giving this guy $12.99 for?
Yeah, you don't even have to give me $12.99. Give me a couple bucks. You know what I mean?
$2.99. I'll fucking
$2.99. I'll be happy.
Like, this is just crazy. This is insane. How
at least you'll be entertained.
And this is important because this is what he just did to Trick Williams. He just said about Trick Williams, well, Trick Williams, he's not good in main events, even though he was good in the main event with Ilya Dragunov.
Right.
But
right.
Trick, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So he was just good in a main event, Dave. Like, and then his shit with Mello happened a week later, and Dave just had to swallow his shoelaces on that one. Anyways, though, the entire time Punk was there, this led to the Adam Page incident, since he was friends with Cabana, and then it all blew up. So Page was like the real friend with Cabana, like the close one. Fuck. The person wrote before the footage aired, but right after Punk appeared with Ariel Helwani. I know there will be a lot of continued discussion about the whole situation with Punk, AEW this week, blah, 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 blah. And then he bullshitted on Ariel. We already know. And then over here, it definitely did happen. So it's all speculation up until this point. And then Dave is going to conclusively say it definitely did happen. You can see how likely it is to have happened by looking at his behavior. In effect, so Dave's a psychologist now. He's a behavioral therapist who can, you know what I mean? Like, who can fucking look.
Dave is a soothsayer. He's able to weave and bob these. He's able to, just like do this word salad. And at the very end, while you're pounded down with information, that's when he's going to give you his opinion. It's a very slick move. He pounds you down with information, and then he gives you
meaningless shit. It's opinion. Like those math problems you learn where they're like, yo, remember, kids, like, extract the bad information. Like, in every math problem that's a word problem, there's always like extra shit in it that like doesn't need to be there. That you can to simplify the equation, and he just overloads you with all that extra shit.
Yeah, he knows his audience.
And then he knows his audience. Yeah, and then he just speculates, and you go, oh look, it definitely did happen. You can see how likely it was that Punk got him fired by looking at his behavior and effectively banning people from Collision. Who? Perry, who is trying to vandalize a fucking rental car? Is that what we're talking about?
Dave relies on people not double checking his work. He's been doing it for so long. He's the, what do they call him? The journalist of record for wrestling. And he relies on people not knowing as much as he does, and relies on people not doing any sort of double checking, because he is the final word. He's the final boss when it comes to the IWC journalistic practices.
And we have Woody Allen, hopefully not the filmmaker. If unless you are, then you're cool. For $5 says, if AEW fans are so rich, why aren't they buying tickets? And I bet that was Hangman talking to Dave again. Yeah, it's because that's some made up bullshit by Dave Meltzer. I mean, who is at WrestleMania? Who's at all these live event sellouts? Oh, it's just poor idiot people who don't go to college. That's fucking stupid. And then if sorry, and I bet that was Hangman. It was Hangman or Colt, 100%. Marty, what do you make of like a Colt basically stooging to Meltzer, and then Meltzer
Meltzer things?
Yeah, saying it's definitively this because of his actions. I'm a psychologist. I'm Professor X now.
Oh, it's Hangman. See that I've heard that, but I wasn't. I mean, I guess it definitely sounds like it could be something that Colt would do. He's going to be grasping for straws at however he can try to shit on Punk, because he won't do it publicly because I don't think he could afford the lawyers for it. We're just being completely honest about it. It's frustrating as shit because there's nothing else to add to this story or to make up. We heard what happened, we saw what happened, and now we're trying to do all this character assassination shit on Punk. They did majority of that while he was there and when he first left. Right. They won't let this shit die.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was the most epic ever Dave Meltzer moment of the week.
Yes.